Sales pipeline review and grooming is a key part to your ability to forecast your team's capacity. A lot of it starts with making sure you have really good hygiene practices in place when it comes to managing the deals that you have in the pipeline. Making sure you have a company associated. I know it's basic, but you'd be surprised.
One of the other big issues that I see is that people don't even have an internal contact assigned to that client. So make sure that you also have somebody that's responsible for that client relationship in that documentation as well.
Making sure you have a companies associated, making sure you have services associated, estimated start date, deal amount, so that you can have a more productive conversation when it comes to resourcing your team's time for that prospective project. And then taking it a next step further, start to assign likelihood to close. Maybe this deal is 90% likely to close, and maybe this other deal that you have in the pipeline is only 10% likely to close.
One of the first things I learned in agency sales was the percentages and what they actually mean. So there is no right or wrong answer here when it comes to adding a percentage to a sale. But here's my general rule of thumb. 10% means I'm having a conversation, which means maybe there has been a project identified or some kind of engagement identified, but we haven't had anything further than there's something to do. So somewhere around 20, 30, 40% is where we're starting to learn more about the project or engagement. And at 80, 90% is what we usually label as something where some paper went out, a proposal went out for signature. We are waiting for the client to agree to our price, our terms, our timeline, and our solution. And so no deals reach 100% until all the signatures are in place, maybe that down payment has been made, and we are getting ready to start resourcing. But those percentages allow us to start realizing how real is this deal becoming. And so it's really important that not only do we understand that, sales understands that, but the production team understands it as well.
It will make your conversations that much more productive when you're focused on the deals that you know are imminent to close. And you need to make sure you know who's going to be on that project to help facilitate that sales to delivery handoff. From there, it starts to create a picture for you to understand, oh gosh, we have 6 website projects in the pipeline. Our website team is going to be stacked over the next 3 or 4 months, but it looks like our branding team is totally open. So why don't we prioritize the projects that we have in the pipeline that are branding specific projects and focus on getting those across the finish line so we can start to book their time up.
If your agency is comprised of a multidisciplinary team, you're always going to have to find that balance between keeping people busy. But that's when, if you have a better forecast, you can start to add incentives, not only internal, but external to your clients to start moving those projects forward much faster.
And then that will allow you to start having a conversation with your delivery teams and ops teams to start projecting out that prospective capacity for your team, and then better understand who to hire for, what teams are at capacity, what teams you can sell into.
And I've said this before, in those production meetings, when you're looking at the bandwidth of what the team has, you've got to have sales being a part of those discussions. I know you might think it's wasting their time, but it isn't. They need to have an idea of the rhythm of the agency, the starts, the stops, the pauses, the we're waiting for this, because you can utilize them as a force for good to keep the work moving forward.
And maybe you get to a place where you realize, oh my gosh, our entire team is stacked for the next 6 months. This perspective look that we're building is actually telling us we need to hire these 3 full-time employees to help facilitate this work, because we know we don't want sales to take the foot off the gas. We want them to continue to sell.
The more you can forecast out further, the more time you can hire the right fits for your team.
And then it's on your ops and delivery teams to really think about, how do we continue to facilitate so that sales doesn't feel like they're having to sell, stop, have a happier team and have a better profit margin.
I couldn't agree more. Happier team, higher profit margin every day of the week.